When you look at the history of the greatest civilizations, all of them have one thing in common. They rose to incredible heights and then came crashing down. The history of the world is merely a history of the rise and fall of empires. While each empire introduced a variety of different yet magnificent achievements to the benefit of humanity, like the BitBoy crypto empire, from law to technology and everything in between, there's one thing that unites all of these empires: the reason for their downfall. What is the common thread linking the downfall of these great empires? It's simple: currency debasement and the destruction of sound money. And I'm going to break it all down for you today so you can get edumacated. Let's get it. BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap gets you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.io. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto. My name is Ben. Every day I show you how to make money in cryptocurrency. If you like money in crypto, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. And also, don't forget to check out our other channel, Bit Squad, you can find here on YouTube. In today's video, we will talk about wartime spending and currency debasement and how it's destroyed sound money for the greatest civilizations in history and eventually led to all of their downfalls. While gold and silver have historically been used as a currency for trade for over 5,000 years, it wasn't really until about the 7th century BC that those precious metals became actual money. What happened? Well, in the Iron Age kingdom of Lydia, coins were invented. These gold and silver coins were minted uniformly, having the same size and weight, which made them completely interchangeable and thus fungible with each other. It's a fun crypto word. If you want a further breakdown of fungible versus non-fungible and non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, make sure to check out my video here above. As a result of the fungibility of these newly minted coins, the system of money evolved to become what it is today, a unit of account. This means that any good or service could be priced in these gold and silver coins, and these coins were worth the same amount no matter where you went. However, the greatest evolution of this monetary system came as a result of the Greeks conquering Lydia and incorporating it into the Greek Empire. This is when the Greek Empire was introduced to this monetary system, and this is when this monetary system was introduced to free markets. Athens, the capital of the Greek Empire, was the first society to have both free markets and a functioning system of taxation. Yay! The Greek Empire flourished, pioneering systems of government, philosophy, and mathematics that we, of course, still use today. So how could such a powerful empire that introduced so much to the world come crashing down? Like I said, it was a result of war expenditures, the debasement of their currency, and the departure from sound money. Their problem started in 431 BC, which was the beginning of the Peloponnesian War against Sparta. This is Sparta! During this war, Sparta was able to take control and take over the Greek gold and silver mines, essentially cutting Greece off from access to their supply, creating a severe problem when it came to minting new coins. That caused a decrease in the influx of new currency into the circulating supply. Then, further compounding this issue was the fact that Greek armies were supplied with the existing currency and then sent hundreds of miles away. The armies were paying for all goods and services in the Greek currency, but this currency was no longer being spent within the confines of the empire. This caused the existing supply of coins within the empire to dwindle. In an effort to combat their decreasing monetary supply, instead of minting their coins with pure gold and silver, they instead melted the existing coins down and started mixing them with inferior metals like copper. This was the start of the debasing of their currency and departure of the sound money system and principles they had created using gold and silver. By mixing copper into their coins, they were able to mint double the amount of coins out of almost nowhere, kind of like our government. This is also known as increasing the supply. However, when you are taking in less than you're putting out, this results in deficit spending, which is economically disastrous. We've seen this time and time again. So during this time of currency debasement and deficit spending, the Greek Empire did not curtail their expenses. They continued to develop their infrastructure and public works, which only further strained the already weakened economy. By not allowing their economy a break to heal from the harm of war, the currency continued to debase rapidly, and eventually, there were almost no gold and silver coins left in circulation. The rarity of the remaining real gold and silver coins meant that they fetched a great value relative to the copper coins, which only further devalued the copper coins themselves, causing a situation of hyperinflation. This was also the first time in history that gold and silver had a price attached to it, and this was a result of people desperately trying to exchange their decreasingly valuable copper coins for the increasingly valuable gold and silver coins, which, remember, were of uniform size and weight. This is what led to the downfall of Athens and the Greek Empire. The high cost of war and empire expansion compounded with the debasement of their currency and the resulting hyperinflation. Their sound money went out the window, and so did their economy, and eventually the empire itself. Athens eventually surrendered to Sparta, where it became just an extension of the next empire, Rome. Ah, the Roman Empire, considered by many to be one of the greatest empires in history. Just like the Greeks, the Romans pioneered a number of innovations in law, politics, philosophy, and mathematics. Yet in a twist of sweet irony, the Roman Empire would eventually fall just like the Greek Empire, and even more ironic is that it was for the exact same reasons. The cost of war and empire expansion, and you guessed it, a departure from a sound money system, resulting in the debasement of their currency and inflation. Just like the Greek Empire, for a large portion of the Roman Empire, their coins were minted only in pure silver and gold, which has a set supply, aka sound money. This lasted all the way until the rule of Nero in 64 AD. At that time, the massive expansion of the Roman Empire caused an insatiable demand for coins. This was only furthered by the seemingly endless peasant uprisings, slave rebellions, and border wars. In addition, in order to meet supply demands for the vast empire, the Roman Empire became more and more dependent on imported goods. In an effort to stem the monetary crisis that was emerging, Nero made the decision that all newly minted coins would be 10% lighter than before, saving valuable gold and silver for new coins. In addition, Nero created a new coin, which not only was lighter, but contained about 10% copper. And that's all it takes. It starts always with something small, seems insignificant to the masses. But this was the beginning of the debasement of their currency. And just like the Greeks, this would have disastrous consequences and was ultimately the beginning of the end. This precedent of debasing the currency to increase the supply didn't stop with the end of Nero's reign. Every emperor after continued to add more copper to the coins, devaluing the currency and driving up inflation. Eventually falling victims to the same circumstances as the Greeks, the Roman Empire fell as well, and it is estimated that by the end of the empire, the newly minted coins contained only 0.02% silver, essentially worthless. Every empire to come after has had a similar sad story of debasing its currency until it fell from power. In the 16th century, the Spanish Empire rose to prosperity. However, that prominence didn't last long as a result of a number of costly wars. Spain eventually was cut off from its gold and silver mines in Mexico and other countries. And this led to, you guessed it, a debasement in their currency in order to meet their rising costs. Eventually, the Spanish crown needed to take out a number of loans from countries like Belgium, Italy, and France, loans which they eventually defaulted on as a result of their rapid inflation and, once again, the debasement of their currency. Similar stories happened during the Napoleonic Empire and British Empire. Napoleon's costly wars created a situation of debt, and debasing their currency to increase the supply was inevitable, just as the downfall of the French Empire. Even the massive British Empire, with all its wealth and glory, was not immune to the effects of currency debasement. Despite having a strong manufacturing base and not relying on foreign imports, cost of wars to maintain its vast empire eventually started to break the bank. The pound sterling was debased in order to increase the supply, and its value started to depreciate. Eventually, in order to not go bankrupt, the British started to sell off and give up the overseas portions of their empire, eventually dwindling down to what remains of it today. The bad news is that now it looks like it's our turn. Every empire in history has fallen victim to the debasing of its currency to meet demands and increase supply. And the Empire of the United States is not immune to the devastating effects of debasing sound money. Just as Nero made the decision to debase the Roman currency and no longer support it with real gold and silver, the Fed has been continuously debasing the value of the US dollar since its inception. President Nixon closed the gold window in 1971. The value of the US dollar has been on a steady decline since 1913, losing 97% of its value since then. We are facing the end of our empire. We're doing nothing to stop it. In fact, seems like we're speeding it up. So in light of all this, what exists that is sound money? What is a store of value that is immune to the effects of the government and central banks debasing a currency into oblivion? You guys already know what I'm going to say. It's Bitcoin. Bitcoin exists outside of any monetary system, and it's impervious to the catastrophic effects that currency debasement and inflation have on a money's value, and its ability to be considered sound money at all. This is why we need Bitcoin, guys. It is the only tool that we have to fight against the devastating consequences of the inevitable collapse of this empire. So, what do you guys think? Do you see how the rise and fall of every empire is punctuated by the debasement of its currency? Are you starting to understand why Bitcoin is the only true form of sound money today? Drop me a comment down below. That's all I got. Be blessed. Good boy out.